Alright, so we got this firewall heat barrier thing done. We have basically about half of the tunnel finished, the front portion where the transmission is going to be at, a little bit on the bottom where the exhaust is at. I actually messed up big time on this. I had my template flipped backwards, so when I cut it, the sticky side was facing out instead of in, so I had to like flip the sides, kind of remake this side a little bit and tape up some of the holes. So I left the top open just because the transmission is really tight up against the floor here. So I didn't think it would work with the thickness. It would probably run into it. There's supposed to be a little bit of a gap between anything. So that's all finished. My pass-through for the shifter cable, that's all bolted up and finished. Everything's sealed on that. And I think we're going to finish up the engine today and hopefully put in the transmission engine tomorrow. So 1.5 fits. Try 2000s. Okay. We're gonna use this to hold it up in place for now. All right, got my O-ring. This is a new O-ring, new pickup tube. Right there, gonna go about halfway. Right there. Okay, so next thing, we're gonna change these springs out. I did have the titanium retainers for the top. I'm not gonna use that. I talked to the people that I bought the springs from, said it's not necessary. The titanium wears out faster. It's gonna be more street driven than a race car, so we're just gonna stick with OEM. And there we go. And just like that. All right, so old one, got the new one. All right, that one slipped over. New spring, OEM retainer. I did inspect this to see if there was any cracks or any crazy damage. They actually look pretty good. Really don't see much wear at all. I think if I'm not mistaken, if there is valve float, you'll see like a wear pattern on the bottom of the retainer. And I don't really see that. So that's good. All right, 2 hours later, and we're finally done. We got to do this side. All right, camshafts are removed. Got everything taken out of the way. Now we're gonna do the valve springs on this side too, along with the valve stem seals. And then as soon as we get that done, we can put the new cans back in and start doing all of our timing stuff. All right, both sides are done, so we're gonna start putting assembly lube on everything. So that's all done, all lubed up. Now we're gonna put the cams in. So since I was messing with these valves, I'm gonna do a leak down test just to make sure it's sealing before I go and tighten everything up. So we're gonna do 50, 60 pounds. So that's perfect. All right, so I checked my pickup tube depth off this gasket and then the oil pan just to make sure that nothing's crazy. It's not gonna be like super far up or something. So that's good. I'm gonna put the oil pan on, and then after that, I have some tensioners coming that's been delayed twice. It should be here tomorrow. As soon as I get those parts, we can put the rest of the motor together, and then we can put it in the car. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these off, get this oil pan bolted up, and then tomorrow I'll get new parts. We can keep it on, keep it on. Alright, so we got our primary chain. All right, so another. Alright, my phone's about to die. I don't have my guide yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this side set up and torque these down. Alright, so I rotated this one full revolution, 5 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and then 12 o'clock. So one full revolution, then back to 12. The chain is on, lines up with that mark, and lines up the mark here. There we go. I'm gonna double check this one here. Alright, so we got a brand new timing cover. Alright, timing cover's installed. I have sealant where it needs to be. Everything is torqued. I put new solenoids in. Apparently these are an upgraded version. New crankshaft seal. And now we're going to do the valve covers. Basically just leave this. I really don't trust this torque wrench, so. All right, everything is finished. Everything is installed. Everything is torqued from front to back. We're good to go.
I'm trying to decide if I want to put these valve covers on, or like the little coil pack covers, I mean. I got some custom ones, or kinda. It's like they're aftermarket black, and then I got some like silver stickers. I thought it would look really good with the contrast. And that looks so good. It's exactly how I pictured it in my head, too. Okay, so I started throwing some stuff inside this engine bay. I figured it'd be easier while the engine's out to kind of get inside here and just start bolting stuff up. Stuff that's just easier to do while the engine is out, and I don't have to, scratch stuff, or it's just make it easier overall. So I started putting all the lines in, brake booster, ABS, all that stuff's done. A couple of the brackets, got the hood brackets, and my little fuse box bracket over there. Along with the cross member, we have that in. I'm going to use that to be able to jack the car up and down to get the engine in. And then the motor mount plates that I have, actual frame side, I'm not entirely sure what to torque these 3/4 bolts to. If you look at the specs for like a 3/4 bolt, it's like well into like the 200 foot-pounds, and obviously it doesn't need to be that high. So I went with 50 on these, and then I have lock washers, and I also Loctited it too. I don't think it'd be a problem, but I'm going to keep an eye on it. This is something that's completely custom. I have absolutely no idea. There isn't a ton of engineering or an entire team behind, this setup. So it's just something I'm going to have to keep an eye on. So I got that side in. I'm going to go ahead and throw that side in now. Alright, in there for good, hopefully. There we go. Yeah, we're good. Well, the hard part's done. Okay, so we got the engine in. Everything still lines up. Those bolts line up. Motor mount on this side lines up. Got that one started by hand already. Transmission, I kind of just have sitting in here right now, but everything still lines up. I have the Stifler's, I can't remember what this is called, and it actually looks like it's touching right there. You can see the output shaft, it might be touching. So we might have to take some metal off to bring that down. I'm not sure why that's touching. Looks like it's all the way down, it's kind of weird. But anyways, this is a drive shaft loop, so whenever the drive shaft blows up, if it does, hopefully not, it'll catch it. But this all lines up too, happy with that. We're gonna go ahead and torque everything down. I'm waiting on some bolts for this mount. These bolts need to be a little bit longer, the 3 up here. And then we could Loctite and torque everything back here. But we can at least kind of crank it down a little bit to hold it in place, and then same with the engine mounts. We'll go and get those torqued down too.
Alright, there we go. Installed. Hopefully for the last time. Everything looks like it lines up pretty good still. There is one spot back here that I'm not entirely sure. It's not touching the insulation, but it is very, very close. I think that fiberglass insulation is good for like 1,000 degrees before it melts, and I don't really see the exhaust getting that hot, but I don't really want to chance it. So I may take a razor and just kind of cut around that area and just pull the insulation out maybe. I don't think this firewall insulation is 100% necessarily needed. I have the lizard skin on the inside here, and then I also put the padding too. So this is going to be more of a driver type car, and I wanted the comfort stuff. So the extra layers, I feel like, is just gonna, you know, make it insulated overall better. It'll stay cooler, stay hotter, and just be overall nicer, I think. Okay, that's where I'm gonna call it quits on this video. I could finally get rid of some of this stuff that's been sitting around, kind of clean up this garage, have a little bit more room. I think I'm gonna start doing the body work and maybe start assembling stuff at the same time. I think I want to do some of the electrical stuff and probably get the dash in, get that all sorted, and then do paint at the same time. And then leave some of the stuff at the end, like all the brakes and the rims and all that stuff. I don't really want to assemble it now and then get overspray on my good quality parts that are really expensive. I could try to seal it off, but I haven't had luck with that in the past. So we're gonna do a little bit of both. We're gonna get this engine bay done as much as I can, and then we're gonna seal it with plastic and try to keep the overspray off. Very happy with the way the engine looks. The Cerakote turned out great. I'm trying to decide if I want to do the intake too. Maybe a gloss black or, I guess, silver. I'm not sure yet.